Hello, farmers, and welcome to another episode of the Harvest Season. My name is Al,
I'm Kevin.
and we're here today to talk about cottagecore games.
Woo.
Woo. Before we get into it, transcripts are available in the show notes and on the website. Get them if you want them.
They're there.
Kevin, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Well, I mean, this is probably where we mentioned that we had just recorded a greenhouse episode before this. So if this is low energy,
yeah,
that was much longer than we were. I was like, this is going to be like a 20-minute episode, and then
Nope.
20 minutes in, we were just stopping talking about Spider-Man. So
Yeah. There's some real dumb stuff in that greenhouse.
Woo.
But that's okay. I'm hyping myself. I'm bringing plenty of dumb stuff to this podcast episode recording too. All right.
So in this episode, I am going to talk about Sprout Valley because I have been playing that, and presumably Kevin will have some dumb questions for me.
Yeah, I will.
So we're going to talk about that, and there's a whole bunch of news. Most of it's reasonably small pieces of news, but there's some chunky stuff as well. We'll get into that. But first of all, Kevin, what have you been up to?
Okay, actually, nothing too interesting this week. The usual. Snap is good. Tears of the Kingdom is good. Oh, I beat the end of the Koga arc. I love Koga.
Oh, nice.
He's probably my favorite character in that game.
That is a really good arc in Tears of the Kingdom. I did that before I did like any of the other big story things because it was fun just to like follow him around the
Yes,
depths.
it was. I happened to run into him before I even got a horse.
Nice. Who needs a horse in this game? Come on.
Yeah, you're right. Just go to the car. The one thing that I do love about the whole Koga thing, I think an absolute stroke of genius. I don't know if it was intentional or not, if they'd already been thinking about Tears of the Kingdom back then, but the fact that they turned the ending of Koga where he falls into the hole and just tie it into his new story, oh, that was genius. Oh, it was beautiful. But yeah, Eagle Clan, it's really fun. I love it. Master Koga's great. Aside from that, the only thing of some note is I've hit year 5 in Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life. That is before you only have 6 years before you hit credits.
Yes.
So the end is in
the main
sight.
credits. The main credits.
Yeah, the main credits.
There are other credits. Don't forget about the other credits.
Yeah, I mean, I already hit credits because you just say no at the beginning.
That's what I mean. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah. That's the first credits.
Yeah,
you got to do that before you do anything else if you're gonna hit everything.
Yeah. I already did that, so yeah, I'm going to hit the credits again. Yeah,
I love that they kept that in the game. By the way, that like they could have easily removed that, but no, they kept it in. It's good fun.
Yep, it's great. So my kid's now like an adult, roughly the age you were when the game started, which is interesting to see. I'm going through faux parenthood here, and it's weird.
I mean, parenthood is weird, so yeah, that's fair.
Well, yes, but like, I'm genuinely worrying if my kid's gonna want to inherit my farm or not. Anyways, the one super notable thing that they do something just brutal to you. So I can't remember if it's year 4 or year 5. No, in year 4, all the characters' hair starts to gray. Like you start seeing it. Everyone starts getting the salt and pepper gray hairs in there. Year 5, you're getting older, so they take away permanently an amount of your stamina. Your stamina bar goes down like a good chunk too, because you are getting up in your years.
Oh no.
You can't take it anymore. Oh, it's getting too real. But yeah, so hopefully soon I'll actually be able to hit credits of this game for once, and I can report back on it. Although I don't think anything will ever top what Mike and I did for that episode. But that's all I've been up to. Al, what about you? What's going on?
I obviously have been playing Sprout Valley the last wee while. And I've also been playing Hades.
That's a good game.
Kind of.
Yeah, it is.
Look, I mean, I'm going to do a proper discussion with this later. probably for a greenhouse episode with someone
Yeah.
else. But
I like Hades.
like, I mean, my overall thoughts are probably going to be the same as most roguelites, which is I like the combat, I like the primary loop, and I hate everything else about the game.
Well, hold on. What do you mean everything else? Because like characters are really good.
Well, okay, the character stuff is fine, right? Like, but it's not. I mean, it's weird in like the story. It's not a story. It's more just like snippets from to. It's world building, right? Like there isn't a story as such as there is snippets of characters and kind of giving you some backstory and stuff like that. But there's no like the story is you escaping, right? Like that's the story, and there's nothing really to tell about that. So they spend the rest of the time giving you these little bits and pieces as you go from different people, which is
Okay,
fine. I don't dislike that, but
how do you think you're going to stick with it? Because I can comment on something here, but if you're going to stick with it, I won't comment on
probably going to stick with it.
Okay, all right then. Well,
I got so close to beating the first boss the other day, so close, frustratingly close. And the thing that I really dislike about it is like all of the things that I did essentially disappear, right? Sure, fine. There's stuff you get that can build up other things later on, right? Fine. But the problem is, if you don't get a huge amount of that each run, it just feels like so demoralizing to go like, I was so close because of these specific power-ups that I got on this specific run, and the chances of me getting all those power-ups again, very, very slim. It's just that, I just don't find that fun.
Okay. I mean, all right. Yeah, no, I mean, that's your prerogative. You know, that's subjective. That's can't argue.
Oh yeah,
with
absolutely.
That.
It's definitely subjective. And like I you know, I know the reason why people like these games, and I know the reason that this game is why it is, but that doesn't mean that I have to enjoy that. You know, I think that still we've still, despite the number of roguelites that I've played, still the only one that I actively enjoyed playing was Cult of the Lamb.
Okay, see, that's interesting because Cult of the Lamb very well. At least gameplay, combat wise, that the stuff we're talking about, where the stuff doesn't matter when you die, that feels very Cult of the Lamb feels very Hades light in that sense. But the kicker is Cult of the Lamb runs take what, 5 minutes? A Hades run can last you a half hour.
Exactly. So this is the thing. This is the difference for me, right? So Hades, yeah, sure, you have some kind of small base building, right, in your home, right? But it's not really, right? It's basically the place that you go to after you fail to get ready to go and fail again, right? Whereas the point in because the point of Hades is get to the end of the course, right? The point.
Have you unlocked the mirror? Let me ask you that.
Yes, I have unlocked the mirror.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
You get that really early.
I don't remember, so that's what I'm asking.
I think it tells you to use it like immediately after your first death.
Okay, because that mirror makes a difference.
It does. No, it absolutely does. And I'm not saying that it doesn't build anything up. There is obviously that building up of the stuff that you do. But I feel like the power-ups you get when you're out on the run are just so much more powerful than any of the stuff that you're building up in the base. But anyway,
you're not wrong.
But the reason why I think the Cult of the Lamb is different and why I enjoy it is the point of Cult of the Lamb is your base. That's the point, right? And you go out on runs to gather resources. And if you fail on gathering resources, you just don't get more resources.
Yeah.
And you can just try again. Okay. Whereas the point of Hades is getting to the end of the course. And if you don't get to the end of the course, you've failed.
Yeah. All right. That's fair.
That's the difference I find.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good point. And you're right. Because the Cult of the Lamb, the base is half the game. Absolutely.
I'd say it's more than half the game.
Well, maybe.
Yeah. I guess it depends how you define half the game, right? Because like different people will play different ways. So if you're thinking in terms of like amount of time played, then it depends on how you play.
Yeah, I guess.
I went out on runs when I needed to get stuff, right? But I much more enjoyed being on the base.
Sure.
Anyway, so that's my Hades. I'll talk more about it in the future. I'm not going to immediately stop playing it, but I'm not playing it right now because all my game time is currently taken up by the Scarlet and Violet Pokemon DLC. Woo woo.
So I have not played it. I have seen things about it, like I've seen the things I care about, and I'll probably get it at some point, but the consensus I'm hearing is that it is more Scarlet and Violet.
So I think it depends on what you think about that. So like, so this is the thing: is like people are like, is it better? And it's like it depends what you mean by that. If you mean have they fixed the performance issues? No, of course they've not. They were never going to do that.
Fun?
I said that 10 months ago. They were never going to fix these performance issues, right? They made things better over time. It is definitely a better game now than it was at release. 100%. There are improvements in the performance, but to say
Except
that
the
they
raids.
would be gone,
Don't look at those though.
no, they've definitely still improved, right? They're not perfect, but they're definitely better than they were. I used to get stuck in the menus every single raid. That never happens for me now. Now, I'm not saying they're perfect, but it has definitely
that happens
improved.
to me.
I'm sure it does.
To me a
I'm not saying
lot.
it doesn't happen at all. What I'm saying is it has improved. It is definitely better than it was. So if this is the thing, is like I need to know what people are expecting out of the question to give them an answer. So if your question is have they made the game perfect, then obviously the answer is no. If the question is have they made the performance better, the answer is not really no. Not since the last update.
Fun yet.
Well, and that's such a loaded question, right? And you say that knowing it's a loaded question, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you how much fun I've had in this game because it's a lot, right? Like I wouldn't put the amount of time into this game if I wasn't actually enjoying myself.
Oh, are you sure?
Right? Absolutely. And I'm not trying to tell anybody that they should be enjoying this game, but fun means different things for different people.
Put a lot of time into that new Animal Crossing.
What I would say is I don't think there are more trainers in this area than there were in the last one, which I know is one of your kind of like, there aren't more people in the area than there were in the last one, which I know is one of your issues. It's not the only issue I know, but that is certainly one issue that I don't think has been addressed. It still feels empty of people. What I will say is that I think, and this is my personal opinion, I think this area compared to Paldea, I think Kitakami is a better designed area, and it feels as a whole more filled out. I feel like there's not really any areas where you look and you go, there's nothing here at all, right?
Okay.
There are more landmarks
that is an improvement
per square mile, I think.
Okay,
I think
that's already an improvement. Yeah,
the storyline is, I think, so probably on par with the storylines in the main one.
I mean that's just Pokemon.
Well, no, see, this is the thing, right? I think that it was generally agreed that the stories were better than previous games, right? Because it's not just like, oh, the end of the world, and oh no, we've saved the world.
I don't. Right? I mean, that's not my opinion.
Okay, lots of people prefer the stories in Scarlet and Violet to some previous stories because they're more personal, and I think that has continued. So yes, so in terms of like story, I think it continues to be more Scarlet and Violet. In terms of lack of people, it continues to be story in Scarlet and Violet. In terms of how the world feels personally, I feel like it has improved. In terms of how the game plays, it is the same because it's still the same game. Obviously, they have not massively improved performance. The boxes are a bit better, but they're still not amazing. And obviously, they have not changed how the movement across the world works, which is obviously, in my opinion, its biggest problem.
One of them, yes, absolutely. Okay. Here's a question that I think can be somewhat objectively measured. Are there things to do? And it's a very broad, dumb way of saying, but like in Scarlet and Violet, once you caught all the Pokemon, there isn't that much left to do. Clear the stories, filled your decks. There's not much left to do.
It's raids, right? Like that's what they want you to do is raids.
Yes, sure.
I don't know because I've not got that far and I've not really been Googling for things. So I'm in the midst of the story.
So all right, okay. Pokemon, all right, well that's fine. Okay, that's
So
fine.
I'll update you on that when I get further.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I like some of the new areas in this are really nicely designed areas. I feel,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
um, which is fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you absolutely hated Scarlet and Violet, obviously don't buy this, right? Like, it just depends on what aspects you didn't like and which aspects you do. And for me, I like playing the game. I like
Mm-hmm.
catching the Pokemon, obviously, because that's like you have to
Yeah.
like catching the Pokemon to, play a Professor Oak challenge. Um I like
Yep.
I like lots of aspects of this game. I definitely want it to be better, but yes, it is more of that, but I liked that in the first place.
Okay. All right. I get. Yeah. Okay. I get the gist of it. It kills me. It absolutely kills me that I will probably get this, and largely because of one new thing that I mean, I don't know what you know, or I usually leaks, guys. You probably know, but the listeners don't know. As I said with the base Scarlet Violet, Pokemon is good at Pokemon. That whole dex, I like
Yeah,
those Pokemon. I like
and the new
seeing them.
and all of the new Pokemon I like as well.
Yeah, I do too. I
They're not
think the
they're
new
not some.
Pokemon are
I don't
cool.
think all of them are some of the best, but I think some of them
Sure,
are some of the best they've done.
sure, they're enjoyable.
Yeah,
And it kills me. It kills me that I want the only reason I want the DLC is to see those new Pokemon.
yeah.
Uh,
You
but
could always
anyways,
try
yeah.
and trading because you can get them in the base game.
Yes, I know I can, but just
And this is the thing. This is what I actually like how they've done DLC. Both with
okay.
Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet, they don't
Yeah.
make you buy it to get the new
Yeah,
Pokemon,
it's not
right?
locked out.
You have to buy
Yeah.
it if you want to get them yourself, but you can always trade for them. And
Yeah.
in my experience, you put up any shiny Pokemon on the GTS asking for any legendary, and you will get that legendary, right?
Sure.
You can get any
Sure.
Pokemon if you have a good selection of
Yeah.
spare shinies, right? It's
Yeah.
it's so easy to do. Like
All
I've
right.
even oh, what's it called? What's the one from Legends?
The
The
what?
genie.
The Raptor? Enamorus or whatever.
Yeah,
The
Enamorous. Even
Enamorus.
Enamorous, I've had multiple Enamorous just from random shiny Pokemon.
That's nuts.
Like people will trade anything for shiny Pokemon.
Dang. I mean, Legends is a great game and all, but that's a trek to getting an Enamorous.
It is. Yeah.
Oh wow. I will give props to the DLC for. Oh, okay. Here's a big question, and so one of the biggest selling points for me as a Scarlet player, especially, I can get out of those hideous orange shorts. Can I bring my Yukata or whatever to the Paldea, the main area?
That is a good question.
Oh no, you don't
I don't know.
know.
I
I
don't
mean,
know. I don't know because like I've just been spending all my time in the new area.
no, I
Let
know. I'm just
me let me tell you.
sweating.
Let me live tell you. Just gonna have to
Oh, here we
boot the
go.
game because I was playing some Mario Kart with Craig earlier. So let me just boot the game.
Also, how big is the map? Is there? Can you give
Good
me an
question. It's hard
estimate?
to know because in the game when you like switch between the maps, it shows them at
Yeah.
different scales, right? So it looks like they're the same size, but they're not.
Right. Of
Um,
course.
it feels maybe like Crown Tundra sized.
Okay, that's decent.
Yeah, so like I think bigger than Isle of Armor,
All right.
but
Sure.
not as big as the obviously main
Yeah.
the
Obviously
main
not as
Scarlet and
big as
Violet map.
Paldea, but
Right, let me check. Right, game is booted up. Let me travel over to Paldea. Let's just go to Mezagoza because that's my only travel point because I've not got far in this version. Oh, I'm on a plane apparently. It gives a little. Oh, that's fun. Little animation of a plane and a Dragonite
okay.
flying next to it.
Oh, that's cool.
Dragonite flies off. And here we go. We've touched down, and I am still in my clothes from Kitakami.
There we go. All right. Days saved. Okay. DLC's worth it for that alone.
It really is much better to not be in school uniform. It's still wild to me that they did that, right? Like, I get why they
It's
wanted to do it, but like, just force you back into those clothes for like the specific cutscenes if you really want that.
yes,
Um,
it
you
blows
can
my mind.
also the extra things that you can buy, you can just buy in Paldea as well.
Okay.
Um, because they give you a style card, right, and that gives you the ability to buy them in
Oh, that's
Paldea
cool.
as
That's
well.
nice.
So you don't have to go to the new area to buy the stuff.
That's nice. Okay.
Although this place is only selling glasses, hats, and gloves, so I need to find a place that's selling more than that. No, I didn't mean to walk back in. This is the thing that really annoys me about these games. When you walk out of a shop, it has you facing the shop.
Oh,
Oh no, it has you it has you facing away from the shop, right? But you came up to it facing the shop. So I automatically think, I need to go backwards because I was facing forwards and I don't want to go forwards because that's me facing towards the shop. But then you go backwards, you go straight back into the shop. Oh, it's bags, this one is. Ugh. Ooh. Right, let's see what these bags. It's definitely a different style of bag. It's one different style of bag. Anyway, so you can definitely leave you can definitely go to Paldea without the school uniform. So,
all right, that's good. That's a big plus.
But yeah, I am enjoying it, and
all right.
As we mentioned in the greenhouse episode, that hopefully has already come out, but I don't know when I'm going to edit it, so it might not be out yet. It might come out on Saturday. I am considering doing another Professor Oak challenge because why not?
Well, I can answer why not, but let's not get into that.
I think that's everything that we've been up to.
Cool. Look, it's fine that I'm winding down because 10 days
You know what's
as
coming.
Of this recording.
You know what's coming.
It begins. The Mineko Geddon begins. Goodbye, the world.
Oh yeah.
All right. What non-Mineko things are supposedly coming out?
Talk about some news. So we have Disney Dreamlight Valley. The Enchanted Adventure update is out now. This is the update with Belle. The Beauty and the Beast realm and the storyline there, and a lot of other things. Like, there's a big long list. If you play this game, you probably have already looked at the list to see what you care about. So I'm not going to go over all that just now, but it is out now. And I am still convinced that the next update will be the either final early access update or the 1.0 update. That is what I'm convinced of.
Yeah. Oh snap! There's Jack Skellington outfits in this.
Look, there's everything. There's everything in this game. Yeah, this is the everything game.
Well, I mean, I don't, because Nightmare Before Christmas is a little, not. I mean, it is Disney, but like they don't usually lump it in with the princesses and the Mickeys and whatever, right? It's usually off kind of its own corner. So I'm surprised it made it in.
Yeah, huh. I look forward to when they start bringing the Marvel and the Star Wars in.
Oh goodness, no, too bad. Whatever, Belle's cool. She's my second favorite princess.
Well, you're gonna have to say who your first is then.
It's Rapunzel because she's incredible. She's the best.
Not Moana.
I like Moana. Moana. No, there's nothing wrong with Moana. Moana is great. Just Rapunzel set the bar real high, and I don't know. Belle's just pure nostalgia, like Beauty and the Beast. That's a good one.
Fair enough. I just have real problems with that storyline, so I struggle to connect.
There are a lot of problems with that storyline.
Yeah.
Gaston might be the hero if you think about it. When you look at it from his point of view, well, except the thing he did with his dad, but other than that,
yeah, well, sure, he's not a good guy, right? Let's not pretend he's a good guy.
He's not a good guy.
That's not what we're trying to say here. Not a good guy,
but he wasn't irrational. Like
no?
You could, okay.
Anyway. Above Snakes, has a 1.3 update is out now as well. This includes a photo mode, plus a bunch of other content, some furniture, and a piano. I don't know why they specifically mentioned the piano.
I don't know.
Piano. If you want a piano, it's playable. Oh, goodness. Right, okay. I missed that. If you want a playable piano in this game, there you go.
And it's on discount right now for, I don't know how, 20% off. There you go. All right.
Then we have Apico has its 3.0 update, which is coming out on the 26th of September.
Oh, Apico.
Special Silly September Day.
Oh, Apico.
It's Mineko Day.
It is. I'm just.
So
Look,
we're back up.
they're
We're back up
introducing
to.
fish.
We're back up to. Yes, yeah.
It
So
says
we talked.
underwater
I think,
bees right there. You get fish.
I think we talked about this a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So you can fish in the game,
Yes.
but also there's underwater bees
Yeah.
for some reason.
Fish. One thing I want to note that I didn't catch before, Cody, it's Cody. I don't know if it's Mathive or Mathive, but they changed her name from her last name to put Hive in it. I love that. That's so
Right.
good.
Okay. I missed that. Yeah.
All right. Go. Anyways, yeah. So a bunch of water stuff in Apico. Go restore coral reefs. They're called the hives of the sea for a reason.
Everdream Valley have released a roadmap. So they have a big update coming in October, a Halloween event coming in October as well, as every game has to have, obviously. And their multiplayer beta is coming out in December.
Cool.
So I'm going to get annoyed. There's this thing that some games do, right, where they go, "Oh, this is the beta of multiplayer," but it's like baked into a release of the game, right? It's not. It's not like a thing that you can't like you choose to update to because you're on the beta branch, right? Don't call something beta if the game is not a beta, right? Like you can't add a feature into your game and call it beta like it means anything. Your game is released. Act like your game is released. What are you doing?
No. Nothing matters in game dev talk. Nothing matters.
It's just
at all.
the first version of multiplayer. Just call it that.
I forgot how cute this game looked. I was looking at it. That's a cute game.
Yeah, there's a pig.
Oh.
Yeah, I've never really looked too much into this game.
I haven't either.
Because there's nothing that really kind of like stuck out to me, but
yeah,
it just keeps rolling.
It's in that filing cabinet Al has of we need an episode game.
Yeah. When we need an episode and we have a week where we can actually play a game.
Yeah.
Because that's the other key point, right? Like it's great when we have time to do it, but when we say we've got an episode next week we don't have a topic for and everybody's busy playing something. All right, that's time to have random topics. Mika and the Witch's Mountain.
We'll all be playing that and not Everdream Valley when it comes out.
Not this year, though.
You're right.
Sadly. And so it's been delayed to early 2024.
That's fine. That's fine. You take your time, Mika. I have Mineko on my plate that I need to get through.
Yeah, they'd never given an exact date, but I think the Kickstarter had said October 2023, I think. They've been pretty good at releasing things roughly on schedule. So I think their last game was like 2 months late or something like that, which for a Kickstarter game is basically on time. You know?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, so Mika said October 2023. That's what it said. And, in fact, Koa and the Five Pirates said September 2023, and I think actually came out in August. So it actually did come out.
Oh, dang.
So that's something. And Summer and Mara said, so that said September 2019, and I think came out March 2020. So it was a few months late, that one. But it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Considering I have multiple Kickstarters that are currently 2 years late.
I mean, like,
and that's not to mention the bidet that I kickstarted that was meant to come out in December 2020 still hasn't come out.
What? Okay, what was special about it? Why was it a Kickstarter?
It is a portable bidet.
Okay.
So you take it with
how
you.
Portable?
Like it's handheld thing.
Okay.
Like it's like a little. It looks kind of like a big torch, big flashlight.
What? How?
With a little spray nozzle on the side.
Okay, so it's. What are you connecting to, or just has its own water source?
So you pour the water into it from a tap.
Okay. Okay, and it just all right, ready to go.
Yep.
I mean, okay, like I'm just trying to imagine designing this thing like to achieve that functionality.
Yeah. I'm
Because I mean,
still not sure. I'm still not sure it's not a
okay,
scam, right?
well, yeah, well, look, you can say that about a lot of
3 years
Kickstarters.
late. 3 years
Re-Legend
late.
came out, and I'm still wondering.
So the last update we got on this was in March, and they said we're ready to deliver, and
Eventually.
they still haven't. That was March. Um, so
Look, I'm just I've never used a bidet personally. Okay, like they're not common in the area of the states where I live or whatever. I've never seen one in person. So I'm just like, if you care that much about having a bidet, like, isn't is not a spray bottle good enough?
we don't need to get into this, right? 2020 was a weird time, Kevin. Let's not. We don't judge. We don't judge what anybody did in 2020. Assuming you obviously didn't like actually harm people, right? We don't judge the
Yes,
weird
but
decisions we made in 2020.
no, I'm not, I'm just wondering, like, how many this fascinates me, like,
Coral
okay.
Island, their new charity DLC is now out, so there'll be a link to that in the show notes.
Curious
I
minds
have
demand to know.
already bought it. We'll
Okay.
do a Greenhouse episode on it
Yay.
if you really want to talk more about my portable bidet that is may
Okay,
or
I
may
was about
not
to
be a
ask, Coral
scam.
Island or the bidet?
Oh no, we're obviously going to do another episode on Coral Island when it's 1.0.
Yeah,
but
yeah, charity. Okay, for real, go save the real coral reefs with that. That's
like
cool.
it's a cool DLC. I got the last one as well. They're both cool. You can't get the first
Okay.
one, but you can get the second one.
I haven't played Coral Island yet, but boy, do I like the ocean, the real one, and the real coral
Yeah.
reef. So yay!
Yeah.
For helping.
Moonstone Island have announced a collector's edition, which is like £2 more than the main one, and gets
That's
you.
not a lot.
It is not a lot because what it gets you is a full color art book, the download of the original soundtrack, and some exclusive decor in game. So it feels like a
Okay.
no-brainer to me.
Yeah, if you like Moonstone Island, that's the no-brainer. Boy, the lo-fi girl is just super popular. Because that's what they have here on this tweet.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What else?
Spirity. So this is an interesting one.
Sinisty.
So this is an interesting one, right? Okay, so I want to preface this with I don't normally cover like random little features that are on games before they release, right? Because we'd be here all day if we were covering stuff like that.
Yep.
But I think this one is interesting enough that it feels like I want to talk about it, okay? And that is Spirit Tea doesn't force you to sleep at specific times of the day. You can choose when you're sleeping. They just require you to get a certain amount of sleep, and you can choose when that is. So if you want to be like out all night and sleep during the day, you can do that in this game.
That is very interesting.
I know, right?
That's a cool idea. Yeah. No, good on them. Like, obviously, presumably, the nighttime will be worth staying up for.
Yeah. So it says that some characters are like, it doesn't say nocturnal, it says night owls.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there'll be people that will be out either only at night or mostly at night, and stuff like that. So
okay.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to go about it.
Yes, I think at this point we're at the it's interesting stage, and we'll see whether it's good or not later.
Yeah.
Once we've actually got to play this game.
Other games probably could benefit from that for sure. But okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah, I feel like it's the sort of thing that couldn't be actively bad. It might be something that we don't use very much, but like giving you the option feels like a good thing in and of itself.
It is, sure, yeah.
But anyway, it's not a huge thing. I just felt like it would be interesting to at least mention that. Ooblets plushies!
I played Smooshy Come Home. There aren't a lot of names in Smooshy, granted, but, one's called Smooshy. There's another guy called Chungy. And I still think the name Shrumbo is dumb. Clumper and Glanter. These are...
Look at those faces, though.
Let me look at the face. I'm just looking at the names. What's a Shrumbo? That feels like a fake mon that they put on The Simpsons on the TV. Good old Shrumbo. Oh, Shrumbo's pretty cute though. Actually, Shrumbo would fit right in Smooshy World, so I'm not gonna complain.
So Shrumbo plushie is available now in the US, and it's coming soon in the EU. In Europe. I don't know why I wrote EU. Coming soon in Europe. I have requested to get a notification when we can buy it here. And Clomper and Glanter are coming soon. They're not on the Europe site, interestingly. I don't know whether they're not coming or whether they're just not up on the site yet, but Shrumbo is up on the Europe site. So he's a big squishy boy.
Yeah, all of them. I don't know what you're talking about, but they all
Shrumbo
are.
specifically.
Yeah, he is. He really looks like he'd fit in Smooshy, the name and all.
All right, let's talk about Eastward Octopia.
It was in the Nintendo Direct, which
I thought I'd managed to get out of this Direct talking about it on this podcast. And just talking about it in the greenhouse, because I was like, there are no farming games. And then I looked closer at this game and realized this is a farming game.
Very, very clearly.
Yeah, like I don't know how I missed it when we were watching. I just went eastward. But... Oh, that's a game I don't really care about. Let's ignore what's happening here. And didn't realize that no, this is a DLC to Eastward, right? Which is coming soon.
Yep.
No release date yet. A DLC to Eastward that you don't need to play Eastward to play.
Yep.
Right? It's like a whole separate game.
Yeah, that happens.
And it's a whole completely different game. The graphics are the same. Presumably the controls are very similar. But it is a farming game. And Eastward is an adventure game. These are not the same thing.
Farming, not an adventure.
No. This is a weird thing to happen. Like, why is this a DLC and not another game? First of all,
because that's that. Now that is a good question.
So what? Here's an interesting point. I was watching the farming animation, and when they're watering, they're just like walking along the line of crops, pouring water.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like take a walk, water, take a walk, water. They're just walking along, and the animation for watering is continuous.
That's so nice,
isn't it?
Isn't
nice. It? Why is this not a thing in other games? I hate / love when a game does this, and they're like, "Here's a thing that you never would have thought of, but now that it exists, every other game that doesn't do this is going to annoy you."
It's all ruined now. Like, I never want to see a farming square again. Just make it all continue. Oh man.
So this is interesting. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, because I had no interest to play Eastward ever, right?
You still don't have to.
I still don't. And I still
have to buy it though.
But I have to buy the game. But it doesn't seem too expensive, so that is good. But yeah, it's like, welcome to the charming world of Eastward, population declining. Journey through a society on the brink of collapse. Discover delightful towns, strange creatures, and even stranger people. Wield a trusty frying pan and mystic powers on an adventure into an unknown. And then this is Sam and John return in an all-new adventure. Remember, this is a DLC. In this heartwarming, story-driven farming sim, players can grow crops, tend livestock, and turn an abandoned fairground into a thriving village with the help of the weird and wonderful cast of beloved Eastward characters. In a parallel universe where time and space have collided, Sam and John move to a peaceful corner of the globe. I'm sorry, a parallel universe.
Well, there you go. That solves all the problem.
What? We're doing multiversal travel in Eastward now. This is a large DLC for Eastward with a brand new story and an all-new farming game mode. Eastward is required to play the Eastward Octopia DLC.
Eastward and the Multiverse of Cottagecore.
This is weird.
It's weird, but they got us.
It might be good weird. I'm not 100% sure.
I don't know.
Their update on it is announcing Octopia, a new farming DLC coming to Eastward. I bet you didn't see that coming. They start off. You're right about that. So the Eastward Octopia DLC will be accessible straight from Eastward's start menu and suitable for brand new players and Eastward completionists alike.
You know,
why is this a DLC?
The more I think about it, the more I'm on board with this general idea of totally separate, different DLC.
This is weird.
Like, oh man, like I'm trying to think of a good example of a wild one.
Well, I was going to make a joke about farming Final Fantasy or something, right?
Yeah.
Having like a random addition that adds farming.
Those are already in Final Fantasy.
I realized they did that.
Yeah, no,
they did that in Final Fantasy 14. Not only that, it's on the moon.
Yeah. No, Final Fantasy has those baked in.
There's no joke you can make about Final Fantasy that isn't something they've probably already done.
No. I mean, it's like Mario Wonder gets a DLC that's, I don't know,
it's like, it's like they did Mario 3D World, and they just added on a whole new game onto it that was an open world 3D platformer.
Yeah.
Oh wait, they did.
Yeah, they did. I still need to play that one. All right.
Interesting looking. Did you look at the fishing minigame?
No. Oh, I remember looking at it. I remember. I don't remember what it is right now, but I remember noting it in my brain.
Weird. Also, is that flying cows and pigs? Why are they flying?
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. That looks a little like what's it called? Well, I mean the circle, Roots of Pacha, but that fishing actually looks interesting, huh? It looks dynamic. I appreciate a dynamic minigame. All right, whatever. I mean, it's crazy, right? Because if this were a standalone game, this would be like a for sure. Just like, yeah, I'm down for that. But the fact that it's DLC, Octopia is a weird name. I haven't played Eastward, so maybe it means something. I don't know. Wait, can we get a DLC where the universes collide?
Japanese rural life simulator. Talking of weird things.
Yeah, okay.
So this is an Apple Arcade game.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that at some point it will come to Android because their previous games are on Android. Sure. This is a Japanese developer that has released this game, and it's about living in rural Japan. View the cherry blossoms in the spring, attend the festival in the summer, eat roasted sweet potatoes in the fall, hear the temple bell ring in winter, and then it's time for the first shrine visit of the new year.
Okay. That's...
I mean, like, it's a experience slow living in the Japanese countryside.
And it's interesting because it's a simulator, so like there's no indication of farming or building or crafting.
I haven't seen anything about actually
just walking around and doing the things.
So there's fishing, there's bug catching, but yeah, I'm not seeing any farming.
All right, there you go.
Presumably there must be farming. You can pick up a dog and carry it places.
There you go.
There's like rock mining. There's photography.
Oh yeah, that is an interesting one, the photography.
It looks like you can like rebuild some like broken things. There's foraging. Yeah, I'm not seeing any farming. Interesting. Not that I think everything needs farming.
No, but definitely just what we expect, right?
Well, that's the thing. All right, so that's the news. Let's talk about Sprout Valley. So, overview. I'm going to start off.
Is it just Stardew Valley at home?
That's harsh.
They're the ones who gave them the same initials.
So it feels like the way I described this in my notes was it feels like a pretty standard farming sim.
So I'm right.
Like, it's got most of what you expect. What it's missing is the village. There is no village.
What? Are there other characters, or are you just by yourself?
Not really.
Wait, what does not really mean?
Let me get to that. I need to go through my other stuff first. So it does a reasonably good job of merging together some standard kind of Stardew Harvest Moon farming stuff with some Animal Crossing stuff. I can't remember what I meant by that at this point, but I'm sure I'll come through in the details. So it was a Kickstarter, and it just launched on Steam and Switch simultaneously, like 2 weeks ago, something like that. And they only launched 2 months after their Kickstarter initially said they would, which is pretty impressive, as we were mentioning earlier with the with Mika and stuff like that. It's basically on time. There are a few annoyances that I have that I need to talk about before we get into more of the details. So first of all, it does feel a little bit buggy just now. So for example, like if you're holding the watering can and you go to like access the crate, you will access the crate, and then when you leave the crate, you will water. Right, so it's doing both of those things. Instead of just accessing the cat crate and then ignoring the fact that you're holding the water can.
That's just efficiency.
A bit annoying, but it's not the end of the world. But there's a bunch of kind of small annoyances, especially in like the controls. Like there's 2 buttons for doing the action with your tool, and sometimes one of them doesn't work, but it changes which one doesn't work.
So
that's a bit weird. It's nothing that is like, oh, it makes the game unplayable. It's just a little bit annoying, right?
Yeah.
Some of the things are like, they have a really weird level of accessibility for some of the items. So for example, you start off with 8 spaces in your bag, right? And you can buy them one at a time for 2,000. So like I bought 2,000's worth of bag upgrade, expecting it to like double my storage. It gave me 1 extra space. It felt really weird,
yeah.
Right? So the bag is really expensive to upgrade. And I also haven't figured out a way to get like a second crate to store things in. I don't know whether that's just I've not got that far, because there is like crafting. So you can craft stuff to make a bunch of stuff. And I'm assuming at some point there'll be one that I can get for accessing more storage. But it feels weird that that's not available very early on, because you start the game with essentially 16 spaces for everything except your tools. Your tools are separate storage. So there are 8 spaces in your bag and 8 spaces in the crate, and that's it. And there are lots of things in this game, so you fill up really quickly. So like they have, so my Animal Crossing point was like they have like the fruit trees and stuff are very Animal Crossing like you can, chop a tree to get wood and it doesn't chop the tree down, and you get the fruit works almost identically to Animal Crossing and stuff like that.
Okay.
But it does mean that like when you get to your island, there's like 6 different fruits that you have on your island, so you like immediately go around and get them and you're almost full already.
Good times.
And then it's like, what am I meant to do with all these things? So you just end up selling everything, even if you might need them at some point. So that's a bit weird and annoying. It feels very early on like it's a very small game, right? So you start off and you're just farming, and it feels like that's all there is. But as you do more, they get more stuff. So there's like a bunch of story that just kind of, you don't think it exists, and then suddenly it happens. It's really hard to explain without spoiling it, right? But like you start off on this island where you're the only person on this island, and there's nothing else, and you do have a boat, but the boat just takes you to like a random island like it does in Animal Crossing.
Mystery tours, okay.
It's essentially like mystery tours, right? And there might be one person on that island with a shop, or there might be nobody, right? So you basically see nobody else. And so you assume, oh, well, there's
This
not
is
really a
fascinating.
story. But then randomly, the guy who sold you the island goes, oh, yeah, there's a basement in your house. You go down to the basement and there's a ghost there.
Okay.
And you're suddenly
Better
talking to
than
this
someone
ghost.
else.
You're like, this is weird. So you're talking to this ghost, and that's where the story starts. But that happens like maybe a week in or something like that. So you spend a week playing this game not knowing there's a story. It's really weird.
Or you have a basement.
So it's like, I don't think it's a problem in general, except that I feel like people might give up quickly because they're like, is this all the game is? And I found that, like, because I was looking on a lot of like people who'd with tutorials or people who were like reviewing the game, and they all seem to be like, there's no story. And I just feel like they stopped playing before that point because there is a story. Right? But like they've just all gave
Yeah.
up
Yeah,
because they
I
were like,
don't
there's nothing
blame
to
them.
do. So that's really weird. I don't know why it doesn't give you a hint that something's at least going to happen, right? Like that, the quest
Mhm.
line just doesn't start.
That is, yeah, and no indicate. And that's such a long time, 5 days or whatever. That's
Yeah,
that's
it
that's
is.
weird.
Especially as at least one of the day that the day that you find out about that stuff, you can't go to sleep until the story happens.
Okay,
So it's just like, oh, I don't want to sleep. I'm not tired yet. And I'm like, what does that mean? What do you mean you're not tired yet? Am I not allowed to sleep until later in the
that's
day? But it
wild.
wasn't that. It was just because there's story happening that day, so they don't let you sleep through the story.
So the story, you have to do it, but you have to stumble onto
You just have to, and you just have to
upon it.
wait. On that day, you just have to wait. If you've got nothing else to do, you've got nothing else
Okay,
to do.
okay.
It's really weird. One thing that I find interesting about this is there's a lot of different islands you can get your farm on with different shapes and different stuff like that, which is kind of interesting, right? So you're encouraged to play multiple times. Um,
That's fun.
it is fun. It's interesting. But the opening cutscene cinematic is really long, and I don't know. You can skip it. I wrote this sentence. It isn't skippable. Skippable. I wrote that while I was sitting watching the thing, and I tried to skip it so many different ways. And then I tried again 5 minutes later, like not 5 minutes later, like halfway into the cutscene, and suddenly it said that I
Hmm.
could skip it. So I was like, oh, right.
Okay.
So I can skip it then. Right. This is weird. So I don't know why it wouldn't let you skip it right at the start if you've played a game already. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
it's a pretty standard thing in these games. If you've like start a second one, it will immediately tell you what button to press to skip things, like right
Yep.
from the start. Like, that's quite common because you don't need to see all this a second time. But it took me ages before it would ever show that. Anyway, not a huge thing. I suspect most people won't play it a huge number of times, but I've done 2 saves. I've not gone hugely far into each of them because
Okay.
I've only had a week really to play it, and then Pokemon came out. But I did want to restart it because I didn't realize when I was first doing it that you're choosing a different island. So then I went, oh, I want to choose a different island for this now, and so I restarted and then played longer than my first one. Um, it would be really nice if you could expand your island. So your island is what your island is, and you don't that there. So it's they're quite limited in farm space,
Right.
and there's no way to get more. That would be nice. So I want
Yeah.
to go.
It'd be nice to get like a second island or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
depends on the map. So the one I'm on second has like a very small second island that you can build a bridge out to. But it's very small. It's like maybe 6 by 6 or something like that. It's not very
Yeah.
big.
No, that's
Um,
tiny.
it is. It is. So yeah, it would be nice to either be able to expand onto other islands or terraform of some kind, right? Like it'd be nice to
Right.
be able to do something like that. Um, that would, I think, make it a bit more fun. So I guess I'll get into some more of the details, some of the things I might explain a bit more now. So the tutorial is pretty good. I like the tutorial. It does an interesting thing where it starts off. The backstory is like you want to you see an ad for a farm, you want to buy it, right? So you go and buy it. Fine, whatever.
As one
It's
does.
not particularly odd or interesting. It is what it is. Once you get there, the guy who sold you it gives you a walkie-talkie, and that's how you communicate with him, right? You never actually see him in real life. which is funny. But like
Okay.
he says, oh yeah, here's is it the pickaxe you get first? I can't remember. You get one of the tools first, and you start using it, and as you're using it, you uncover another tool, and when you uncover that tool, you get a little pop up that says what you do with that tool. So you don't get all the tools all at once. You have to start using one of the tools to get the next tool, and then start
That's
using the
kind of
next
fun.
tool to get the next tool. And each time you get a tool, it gives you a very quick description of what you do, and then you go and use that for a bit, and you get the next tool, and it tells you how to do that, and you use that for a bit. It's really nice. It works really well. I thought it was a really nice little tutorial. That explained everything. I mean, obviously, I knew everything because it's standard tools, right? They're not really different in any way, but it was a fun little tutorial that didn't take too long, and I think did things in a way that didn't feel drawn out or awkward.
Okay, yeah, that does sound nice. It sounds like a natural flow.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's clever.
The farming is fine. It's pretty standard farming, right? You dig a hole in the ground, you plant some seeds, you water them, they grow, you harvest them.
Sure.
Um, there's a couple of little annoyances I have in terms of like how the controls work around that and exactly what you have to do. The It does the thing where some farming games have done recently, where you don't have to have a tool equipped to use it. So if you walk up to like a tree and you just press the control button, it will get the axe out and hit it. Um, which I really like because I don't like switching between tools. But the problem is it doesn't work very well. So then once you've done that, you now have the axe equipped. And if you go to something else, it will never change that. So if you equip a tool, it won't change it. If you go up without a tool equipped, it will use the right tool. But now you have that tool equipped, so it won't change it
Huh.
again. So you have to unequip the tool for that to happen again. It's just like a
That's
little bit
okay.
weird way to
Yeah,
do that.
almost there.
Yes, that's exactly what it's almost there, but it's just not ideal. Um yeah. I don't think there's anything really special to say about the farming. It's fine. It's like if you've done farming in other games, this will be pretty standard to you. The crafting is pretty fine. It's like Animal Crossing farming, but it has bulk farming. But sorry, it's like Animal Crossing crafting, but it has bulk crafting. So there you go. Better.
Already, well, there you go. Flexing.
There again, as with everything, there seem to be some weirdnesses with the controls, where when you press right on the control pad, it will sometimes do it once, it will sometimes do it twice, it will sometimes do it 4 times. Right? So you have
Oh
this weird
yeah.
so it's just a little bug, which I'm sure they'll fix soon, which is just a little bit annoying. I really hope they fix it soon because it's like you go, oh, I have one, I want to get 5. So you press 1 and it takes you up to 4, and you press it again, takes you up to 6. And you're like, no. So you press down, it takes you down to 3. So then you press up and it takes you up to 7. You press down, it takes you down to 5. And you're like, finally I'm there. Right. So you're just doing this dancing jig with the crafting bench to actually get the number that you want.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's pretty
So
funny though.
hopefully that's a very obvious bug, so it'll get fixed soon. The other thing I would say about crafting that's a little bit annoying is it doesn't show you how many you have in your bag. So it shows you how many you need, and it tells you whether
I
you
hate it
have
when they do that.
enough. It tells you whether you have enough, but it doesn't tell you how many you have. So you're like, okay, well, I want to build as many of these as I can. So you go up until it doesn't have it, and then you go down 1 again, and then you craft them, and you're like, I don't know how many I have. I know I have less than
Mm-hmm.
5, but I don't know whether I have 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And you have to go back into your bag to look at that. So it's a little bit annoying, but these are all just like small annoyances.
Yeah.
So they have the traveling, the going to other islands like Animal Crossing does, um, which is fine. There's not a huge variety of different islands. So basically, if you go to an island, it will have fruit trees, it will have rocks and bushes and stuff for you to cut down and get resources. And it may or may not have a random person with a shop for some stuff to buy. And
I love
that,
that the random
and
shop.
I know it's like it's really weird. They don't have a house there. It's just, and the shop is like You know, like
A stall?
a stall. Yeah, it's a stall. It's not a proper shop, which is fine. I don't have it. It's just like, why are you on this random island with your stall? Nobody else is here. You don't even have a house here. What are you doing?
Sleeps in the
So,
stall.
it's like, are
See
you
the bed,
commuting
but
to
it's
this
there.
island with your stall and just hoping random people turn up? So it's fine, but I'd not found any variety, right? So like with Animal Crossing, where you would turn up and like there would be different
Yeah.
bugs and stuff like that. Like that's not there aren't bugs in here, so that's not a thing. And it's like I've not found anything that's different. It may or may not have some fruit trees. It may or may not have a stall. That's it. Right? Like it's fine for resource gathering, right? Like once you've done everything on your island for you to do that day, it gives you another thing to do, but it's not particularly interesting. And I feel like they could
Right.
expand that out a lot to be much
Just
more
like mystery
interesting.
tours in Animal Crossing.
Yeah. You have to initially you have to like buy what's called travel supplies to do it. So you have to have this item to go on it. It's like the Nook Miles tour,
The
right?
tickets
The kit
things,
ticket. It's
yeah.
like that. Which is a bit annoying, but then you get a crafting recipe for it. So that was fine. I enjoyed that because it's like the crafting recipe is like it's 3 vegetables and 3 fruit, and it can be any vegetables and any fruit,
Oh,
which is
that's
fun.
nice that it's
So
an easy one to make.
yeah, and it makes sense logically, right? Like you're packing food for you to go, right? Like that's why you're just like, okay, fine, yeah, it's nice and easy. Do you get it reasonably early on? I think I got it like a week and a half in or something like that, and then I didn't have to buy them again because they weren't cheap. They were like 500 or something, which isn't ridiculously expensive, but it means you can't do it constantly, can't do it every day. But then once you've unlocked the crafting recipe, you know, as with all farming games, you're building up quite a big patch of farm that you can farm for, and you like not exponentially, but your money is increasing quite a lot because you farm and you sell and then you buy more seeds than you had the last time, and so then you get more money and more money. And then so what this does is it just means that each time you do that, you keep behind like 9 of each and sell the
Yeah.
rest, and there
Yeah.
you've got your travel supplies until you get more crops. So
Okay.
it's a nice feature. I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like it kind of like it's a nice idea that wasn't like fully implemented, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of do the same anyways in most farming games. I keep a supply of stuff,
Yeah.
usually for crafting recipes and stuff
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's interesting they kind of encourage that.
Um, the last kind of big thing I want to talk about is they have what's called the machine.
The
So
machine, okay.
I won't give away the story behind the machine, but basically, I said like you go down to the basement and there's a ghost there.
Yeah.
You then you there's a story there in terms of you are building this machine. I won't tell you what the machine's for because
Ooh,
that's story
okay.
wise. But you're building this machine, and it's basically like the community center in Stardew Valley.
Okay, sure.
So you have
All
boxes
right,
where
it's
you
the
have to put
big
in stuff,
objective.
and you're building the
Yeah.
machine. I haven't finished building the machine because it feels like quite a long one as well.
Okay.
Like the Stardew one, it feels like it will
So
take you
like the
quite a
community
long time to
center.
build it
Okay,
out.
big overarching goals sort of thing.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So it feels like it will take quite a lot of time to get to that, which is good because it's nice having like long term goals in these games.
Yeah,
Which is why I
absolutely.
find it really funny. This was I found really funny when like the number of people who are like, "There's nothing to do in this game besides farming," and I'm like, "Did you not go down to the basement like they told you to a weekend? Like I don't like I understand why like normal people would give up on this game really quickly if there's not if an indication of the story. But people who are reviewing this game, did you not play for a week? Like if you're playing a farming game and you don't play a week, you're not playing that farming game, right? Like I know it takes a long time, and I very rarely get through a full year of these games before I review them, right? Because it takes a long time. But a week, especially early game in these games, you get up, you do what you can do, and then you go to bed because there's nothing else you can do early on in these games, especially this game, right? To get through a week maybe took me like half an hour. Play half an hour of this game.
Oh, okay.
My
I thought it was
word.
longer. Okay, that's that quick. That's short.
Well,
Oh.
so it depends how you play, right? If you're the sort of person who like you're going to like store up all of the fruit so that you can keep eating, so you can keep having energy to do infinite amount of things in each day, and the only reason you'll go to sleep is because you have to go to sleep, then it will take you a couple of hours, right? But
Right.
if you're like me and you're like early on in the farming game, I just want to get through the early game. So I will go up and I will do all of the farming bits that I have to get the seeds and get crops so that I can then progress myself. I will do what I need to do. I will do some chopping until all of my energy is gone and then I will go to sleep. I'm not going to waste time staying up, right? You'll get through it much quicker.
Okay.
So yeah, I find it weird that nobody that I can see reviewed this game and talked about this bit. But there is
That is weird.
a long-term goal, and everybody seems to think there isn't a long-term goal, and I don't understand what they were doing in this game if they didn't come to this conclusion. Weird. So
Yeah, that's weird. I don't. That's
people
because obviously
are
there's a
weird.
subpopulation, but still, only like an hour to get to the story. That's
Yeah, if
that's
you're doing everything possible in this game, maybe it would take you 2 hours to get to that point. Maybe.
okay. That's still,
That's not a lot of
okay.
time to get
It's
to
not.
that. So fine, whatever. Conclusion on this game. I think it's fun. It's a relatively simple in terms of number of mechanics. I can't
Okay.
speak too much for the story at this point because I haven't gone through a huge amount. Because again, I would like to point out I have had this game for a week, and Pokemon DLC came out halfway through that week. So
So you
but
played
you know, I've
3
put
days.
I've put in maybe, what does Steam say? I think maybe like 15 to 20 hours, something like that, into the game. So I feel like I've got a good idea of it. It's fun. It's not the most complex of farming games, but if you
Right.
like something like Stardew and you don't like people, this is the game for you. I
Well,
mean, that's the weird thing about it is the
yeah.
characters in this game are the guy who sells you the farm, who you only talk to on the radio a few times because he's telling you stuff. The
Right.
ghost that lives underneath your house, and unnamed NPCs with stores on random islands. Those are the
So
only characters in this game.
okay. So actually, question. I'm just thinking about the shops and stuff. So because a lot of
Oh yes. Sorry, getting
you have a
stuff. General
shipping bin.
store. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I didn't talk about this. I should have talked about this. So, you don't technically have a shipping bin. You have a post
Okay.
box. You put stuff in the
Okay.
post box, and it's
Whatever.
essentially a shipping bin.
Functionally.
Whatever.
Okay.
It's the
Functionally,
same.
yes.
They've combined the post box and the shipping bin. It's the same thing, but
Sure.
they've combined the two.
Sure.
I quite
Okay.
like
There's
that.
a box.
You have a little book inside your house that you buy stuff from. That's the general store.
Okay. A
It's the guy,
catalog. Okay.
the guy. Yeah, it's a catalog. So the guy who sold you the island, he gives you a catalog, and you buy stuff. You buy stuff on there, and they come the next day in the post box.
Okay. Okay, because I was wondering, like, are you playing lottery to see if you can get the seed you want
No.
on random
Yeah. So
strangers?
no.
Okay.
So the random stores will give you like out of season stuff and like cosmetics and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, this is fascinating. It feels like there's an idea at the core
Mhm.
here.
Mhm.
I wish it could be expanded, but like
So, yeah.
the
So
solo Stardew Valley. That's an interesting
yes.
premise
Yeah,
that
it
can be
is.
explored.
It feels like two things in one. It feels like one, somebody went, I want to make a farming game, so they made a farming game and they made what they know as a farming game. And two, it feels like there was some interesting ideas in that farming game that weren't fully fleshed out. And it's it's fine, right? Like if you've got a farming game that you're playing just now, you're not going to pick this up and play that instead, right? But if you're like, I like farming games and I like playing new concepts in farming games, pick it up. It's a good, fun farming game. Yeah, like I don't. I feel like there's not much more else to say than that.
Okay, well, let's. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. If you do go back to the store, I'm curious what the machine does. I'm interested to hearing like what the ghost has to do with anything, and hopefully it gets expansions and
Maybe I'll
more
give
stuff
away
to
what the
do.
machine does in the post credits
All right,
because it's not. I'll give it away in the post credits.
all right.
So if you want to know what the machine does, come and listen to the post credits.
All right, there you go. He set the hook. He set the bait on the hook.
Thank you, Kevin, for joining me.
Thank you, Al, for having me on. It's been a day.
Where can people find you on the internet?
Okay, if people want to find me, go at Koopa Prez for my personal Twitter, where I mostly retweet other funnier, smarter, more interesting people. Go to at Spider Squared if you want to see my art. I have been keeping up with it, I just haven't posted it. I've been doing a lot of non-pixel art, like in a sketchbook. It's wild, I say.
Wow.
But yeah, I sound like a huge nerd, but I've been working on a bunch of fake mon, and then I put them into my pixely form. Anyways, but probably more interesting than all of that, you can also find me at Rainbow Mario Pod. That is the Twitter handle for the show called Rainbow Road Radio, Mario podcast I do with our mutual friend Alex, currently on hiatus, but we're halfway through September, so we'll be pumping out new episodes in a week or two or so. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah.
What about you, Al? Where do people find you?
You can find me on many social media sites at the Scottbot. I don't really use many of them a huge amount, but probably
That's
the main
fine.
one would be mastodon.scott. You can find the podcast mainly on Tumblr at THSPod. Again, also on some other social networks that exist that may or may not be dying. You can find links to everything for the podcast on our website. That's the place to go if you need something, because that will always be around as long as the podcast is running. Harvestseason.club. We don't rely on the whims of a billionaire for that site.
Well, it feels like at some point you can find a billionaire anyway.
If a billionaire wants to make me reliant on them and give me lots of money, I will accept that.
But I'm just saying, it feels like somewhere some billionaire can find a way to influence everything.
Oh, sure, right, okay, yes, but if they manage to take down my site and I can't replace it with another identical copy, we have bigger problems because the internet is dead.
Yeah. All right. But before the internet dies,
especially find the link to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/thspod, where you can find you can subscribe, give me money, and get access to the Slack, which is where we chat about lots of things, including some cottagecore games, but also some other random things.
Mostly laughing at each other on the show.
Yeah. You also get some sneak peeks as to what. Sometimes I post things in the Slack about what's upcoming, some sneak peeks of things. So if you want some sneak peeks, you can come and see some sneak peeks there. Mm-hmm. And you can also get access to our bonus episodes of the podcast called The Greenhouse, either having already just come out a few days ago or coming out in a few days, is our reaction to the Nintendo Direct from last week.
And among other things,
oh yeah, also Spider-Man.
No, I'm talking about other things like, oh god, I can't remember. I don't know.
I honestly can't remember.
It was
the
wild.
bidet was in this podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Literally this episode.
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking like, oh, we go. I like to go on tangents. Anyways, there's a lot of stuff in there. There's some good bits in that, so go listen to that.
The Switch isn't dead yet.
No, not yet.
Still stuff to come.
Yeah. All right, that's it.
And yep, I think that's everything. Thank you, Kevin, for joining me.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, listeners, for listening. And until next time, have a good harvest. The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin, Stuart, and Elisa. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode.
All right, what's the machine do?
I've probably hyped this up too much. Just a reminder, I am about to spoil what the machine does in
They're
Sprout
at the
Valley.
credits. They
You-
know. It's
Look,
the
I'm just
Wild
making
West
sure.
after
They might
the
have forgotten.
credits.
They might have forgotten. It's a seed machine. Seed maker.
Are you serious?
No, I'm not. I'm not joking.
Well, okay.
So basically, the story is like randomly one day there's like shooting stars that crash onto the
Yeah.
island, and like you're like, oh, this is a star fruit. I like star fruit. I want to share star fruit with the rest of the
I
world.
do like
And then the
Starfruit.
ghost is like, oh, I heard about a thing called a seed maker. And then you're like, oh, let's build the seed maker, and then I can make star fruit for everybody in the world.
Okay.
And then you're like, oh, maybe I can make other things with this seed maker as well. And the ghost is like, hey, calm down there. Let's get this the star fruit seeds first. So it's like you're building this massive machine under your house. Like this is the weird thing is the basement is like 6 times the size of your house. And you're building this massive machine that covers a good portion of the footprint of this underneath your house. And
To
it's
make
for making
Star-
seeds.
Well, there's your DLC, Starfruit Tycoon. All right.
I'm really intrigued as to where it goes. I just find it funny that people are like, oh, there's no story and there's nothing to do in this
Well.
game. And I'm like, did you even do anything? Like, I'm pretty sure it's a weekend that this happens. It's
Yeah.
absolutely wild.
All right.